The city of Hikari was a place where dreams came alive, but at a cost. Glass towers gleamed under the sun like monuments to ambition. Streets buzzed with motion, ambition, and distraction. But behind every successful face was a quiet price most people ignored, until it came due. In a high-rise tucked between finance towers and yoga studios, 28-year-old Ren Ito, a senior architect, sat in front of his window at 2 a.m., staring at the skyline that once inspired him. He had the salary, the prestige, the view, but he felt empty. He hadn't spoken to his younger sister in months. He hadn't sketched for fun in years. He hadn't taken a walk without earbuds in since he could remember. That night, as rain gently tapped the glass, Ren whispered, "What have I given up to get here?" And so begins a Zen journey through the lives of 4 strangers whose stories intertwine in the heart of Hikari, each revealing one of 4 sacred things never to sacrifice for anyone, no matter how shiny the offer. Chapter 1. Never sacrifice your inner peace. Ren had started meditation 3 weeks ago, not in a temple, but in his apartment, sitting on a yoga block next to his washing machine. He wasn't good at it. His thoughts raced, but for those few minutes, he wasn't answering emails or comparing his life to others. One evening, he was late to a team dinner with investors. As he arrived, flustered, his boss, Ms. Arai, grinned through her teeth. "Still doing your monk thing, Ren? Meditation won't land us clients." He chuckled nervously, but the sting remained. That night, his phone buzzed again and again with late requests. He wanted to say no, but he'd always said yes. Instead, he turned the phone over and walked to the window. He realized that he'd been trading inner peace for external validation. The next day, Ren emailed the team. "No more messages past 8 p.m. unless it's urgent. I'll be unavailable during my morning sit." No one responded, but no one quit either. That night, he meditated deeper than ever. And for the first time in years, he slept without dreams. Chapter 2. Never sacrifice your voice. Across town, in a modest bookstore cafe, a college student named Kana sat behind the counter, grading notes in between customers. She loved literature and Buddhist philosophy, especially the stories of lay disciples who found enlightenment through everyday life. But lately, she had been quiet. Too quiet. Her boyfriend, Takeshi, was charming, ambitious, and manipulative in subtle ways. He told her poetry was a waste of time. He questioned why she always quoted Zen masters. "No one cares what dead monks said," he laughed once. She stopped speaking up. Slowly, she erased parts of herself to keep the peace. One rainy evening, an old customer named Fumiko, a retired professor, noticed the change. "Your smile has dimmed, Kana. When we silence our soul, our face forgets how to shine." Those words pierced her. That night she wrote in her journal, "My silence is not peace. It is self-abandonment." The next morning she printed her first poem and pinned it to the cafe's community board. "My voice is mine. I will not trade it for love. Love should echo it, not silence it." She left Takeshi. She stayed with herself. Chapter 3. Never sacrifice your creativity. In a cramped downtown studio, a graffiti artist named Yuto lived with paint-stained hands and a soul on fire. He once painted vivid murals of Buddhist parables, the ox herder, the lotus rising, the finger, and the moon. People loved them, but sponsors began calling. A brand offered him 6 figures to redesign their campaign, but they wanted him to shift style, less meaning, more flash. Make it pop, no monks, no metaphors. Yuto stared at the contract. It would pay off his debt, let his mother retire. But when he sat to draw, he froze. The canvas rejected the compromise. His friend May, a Zen calligrapher, visited one night. She watched him struggle and said, "A sword forged from lies will break in battle. Your art is your truth. Yuto declined the offer. He was broke, but bold. Months later, one of his old murals, "The Silence That Speaks," went viral on social media. A gallery in Kyoto invited him to exhibit. No sponsors, just spirit. Chapter 4. Never sacrifice your self-respect. Ayaka was a corporate lawyer in Hikari, known for her precision and calm demeanor. People admired her. Men adored her. But inside, she was growing numb. She was dating a powerful executive named Reiji, whose charm veiled quiet cruelty. He belittled her in subtle ways. Jokes at parties, backhanded compliments, withholding affection until she apologized for things she didn't do. She stayed because he was successful, because she didn't want to start over. One morning, she saw an elderly monk on the train, silently reciting something with his prayer beads. She smiled, and he offered a gentle nod. She found herself Googling the phrase she barely heard him whisper, "Namu Amida Butsu, I bow to infinite light." That night, she bowed to the mirror, whispering, "I am the light, too, and I will no longer dim myself to stand beside someone." She left the relationship. She cried, screamed, breathed, and felt herself return. She began volunteering at a legal clinic for women in toxic workplaces. Final chapter. The four meet again. Months later, Ren walked into the bookstore cafe where Kana worked. He had started sketching again. Zen-inspired spaces. He was different now, quieter, gentler. Kana handed him his tea and said, "There's a poetry night today. You should stay." Yuto was painting a mural outside the cafe, a bodhisattva meditating in the city noise. Ayaka had come to watch, her legal brief tucked beside a book of Zen koans. Strangers, all of them, and yet bound by an invisible thread, the courage to not sacrifice what matters, even when the world asked them to. The city hadn't changed. It was still loud, bright, and fast, but they had. Epilogue. What never to give away. The city moved as it always had, fast, loud, and full of temptation. But now, for those who had walked through its illusions and listened deeply to its silence, it was no longer a place of noise. It was a mirror. Ren still walked past glass towers, but he no longer saw them as symbols of success. He saw them as reminders. Reminders that no matter how high you climb, if your mind is not at rest, you are still falling. He had learned that his inner peace was not a luxury. It was the very ground on which a meaningful life must stand. In preserving it, he had rediscovered joy not in the absence of challenges, but in his response to them. Kana, once afraid to speak, now hosted open mic nights at the bookstore cafe. She read Zen poetry and her own verses, trembling at first but radiant with each line. She had come to realize that the voice you silence for others is the same voice that once told you who you really are. And when she reclaimed her voice, her world expanded, not just in applause, but in authentic connection. Yuto's murals had spread across the district. His Meditating Amid Chaos series now graced subway walls and schoolyards, reminding thousands of passers-by every day that creativity is not a product. It's a prayer. He knew that when you sacrifice your creativity for convenience or applause, you sever your lifeline to the divine. He now painted not to impress, but to express, and in doing so, he found both peace and purpose. Ayaka, walking out of her toxic relationship, had finally returned to herself. The way she held her coffee, the way she said no without guilt. These small things were sacred. Her self-respect, once buried beneath charm and pressure, had become her shield. It wasn't arrogance, it was self-recognition. She had learned that love without respect isn't love. It's control wrapped in comfort. And so, as the city moved around them, these four souls moved within it differently. They were not louder, not wealthier, not more famous, but they were clear, and that clarity made them free. The city still offered trade. Give me your truth, and I'll give you attention. Give me your silence, and I'll give you approval. Give me your values, and I'll give you success. But now, they answered in quiet defiance. No, some things I will never give away. And in that stillness, the city itself began to feel like a temple,